everybody, Jamieleigh here from BirdTricks, and today's video is, well, you probably guessed it from the title, some Conures versus African Greys. Which one should you choose? So it might be a little bit obvious that I have both of these species in my flock. I actually have 3 sun conures, and they're all related, they're all little sisters, and I just have one Congo African Grey. This is CRESSI over here, and this is PHOEBE over here. Now there's a lot of differences in these 2 species, so let me kind of talk about both. Are you just wanting to be pet? Oh, I was gonna take you down. Guess not. You wanna come down now? With a treat? There we go. Good girl, CRESSI. Hey, Phoebes. Ooh, CRESSI. So the main difference between these 2 species is their size. I consider sun conures small parrots, and I would consider the African Grey a medium-sized parrot. The other big difference between these 2 is the lifespan. Your African Grey is gonna live a lot longer than your conure, probably double or triple the amount of time as your sun conure, if given the right diet and proper environment to thrive. So, but that's kind of said with both of them. Another huge difference, I would say, is noise level, but not in every aspect that you think. Most people know that sun conures are incredibly noisy, and they have this scream that seems like it can just go on forever and never, ever, ever end. Whereas African Greys tend to be quite talkative. CRESSI knows how to whistle. She has kind of a robotic voice sometimes. She mimics our other birds, and she can make lots of fun little sounds. Now, one of my sun conures does talk, which is pretty darn cute, but CRESSI is definitely better vocally, I would say, than the sun conures. You just pooped on my chair. You just pooped. Can you get a little wave? Do you know the wave? Or is that just Lily? Aw, DETKA. You're a DETKA. Okay. Are you a DETKA? And I thought you were PHOEBE. You are DETKA. Do you know the spin? Spin. You are DETKA. PHOEBE doesn't know that. My bad. I thought you were PHOEBE this whole time. I thought she was PHOEBE. Obviously can't tell my own sun conures apart. Alright, CRESSI. You can come back if you want. Whoop. All good? Okay, let me clean up this poop real quick. What was the last thing I was talking about? Oh, vocalizations. So I will say, while the sun conures can be loud and do kind of a repetitive scream that happens quite a lot, African Greys have the ability to get loud too, and CRESSI has a very high-pitched kind of sentinel call is what we call it when she's nervous about something or she's warning the flock, and it is ear-piercing. So I will say, even though sun conures are bashed quite hard for their consistent scream, African Greys can definitely be obnoxious too when it comes to vocals. I know that this part won't pertain to everybody, but when it comes to their flying ability, I find that the smaller the bird, the easier it is to condition flight training skills. Also, based on the bird's body condition and body type, CRESSI's a little bit more hefty, and just how her body is built, she flies a little bit heavier. We're getting hormonal. We're gonna go over there until we are not, and she's probably gonna come back. But CRESSI's built more like a fighter jet, where she just isn't as elegant or graceful of a flyer as our other birds, like our sun conures, who are just get around a lot easier. The other thing is the contact call. African Greys tend to go silent, where sun conures are definitely gonna contact with you. African Greys are much more hormonal. Just saying. Okay, the other part of the flying thing is that there's a lot of things about the sun conures that make them safer actually to free fly than African Greys. Even though they're smaller and you'd think that they were less safe to fly, I would prefer flying my sun conures and actually fly them more than I'm able to fly my Grey CRESSI. So I know that's kind of backwards thinking, where most people would think because the sun conure is so much smaller, it would be less safe to fly, but actually I find safety in the fact that I have 3 of them. I find that I fly them a lot more often, and a lot more safely than I do CRESSI. I'm a lot more picky about where we fly you. She's harder to see, she's harder to hear, and she's not as skilled of a flyer just naturally. She's not as agile and nice of a flyer as the sun conures are. They can really do some super amazing maneuvers. And although she's incredibly skilled in her flight, it's just not as easy for her to pick up and go as it is the sun conures. So I would say for free flight, I definitely prefer the sun conure. For everyday living and trainability and just having a companion parrot, I would probably have to go with CRESSI, the African gray, just because I find the company of grays to be a little bit more, how do I say this? It's just a little bit more enjoyable because of that noise level. So even though CRESSI has some vocalizations that I don't necessarily like, it's not as constant as the sun conure, which has been totally disproven in this video because you have been so quiet. Actually, you both have been pretty quiet. So noise level, you're not really getting a clear comparison on, but does exist, I promise. The other thing I found is just temperament. Now this is quite the same actually. CRESSI gets quite irritated from other birds, especially the sun conure. She's actually more likely to get along with my cockatoo than she is with the conures. So the fact that they're getting along so well right now is probably because I only have one in and not all three, and probably because this one's not Lily. But CRESSI tends to get quite agitated with the presence of other birds, whereas my sun conures tend to be a little bit more manageable and not care as much about other birds being around. So I would say temperament wise, they both can get quite agitated with the presence of other birds, but the one that's most likely to is probably my African gray. She's a little less easygoing compared to the conures. As far as socialization goes and introducing these birds to new people or friends or family, I much prefer doing it with CRESSI than I do my sun conures. My sun conures are overly friendly when free flying and completely antisocial when indoors. So it's kind of the opposite there, and they can get set off quite easily. So non-bird people who maybe want to allow them to cuddle into their hair, it turns into nesting quite quickly. And so I see things going south a lot easier with the sun conures than I do with CRESSI the gray, who is just a lot more easygoing with humans than she is with parrots. I will say as well, I find the African gray personality to be just a little bit more mellow than I do find sun conure personality. Sun conures tend to be a little bit more full of energy, up to no good quite often, and just looking for things to constantly get into, whereas CRESSI, she's either mellow or yes, she's all in looking for all the good things of food because she's definitely a foodie. So I would love to hear from you guys in the comments, those of you that have conures already, or those of you that have African grays. What do you like about your African gray, and what would you consider not a dislike, but just maybe a not so great trait of theirs? And are you happy that you went with the choice that you did? So if you're on the fence between conure and gray, you kind of need to weigh your lifestyle options of what will work best for you. Do you live in an apartment or do you live in a home? Can you handle the noise? And kind of think worst case scenario with each species. If you can handle them at their worst, then you definitely deserve them at their best. But if you can't, then don't expect to ask a neighbor to do the same. The last question I'm going to cover as far as African grays versus conures is I saw this a lot come up about socializing the two of them. As you've seen in this video, my two have done okay together, but that's not always the case. I've showed over on Patreon a hormone season that we went through where I swear every single bird of mine wanted to eat another bird of mine. Well, of course. DETKA, baby girl, come on. So CRESSI, I don't know if you could hear her click. Yeah, come on CRESSI. You chased her away, you did. So that was something where you saw CRESSI get totally set off and now you're expecting a pet. How about this? CRESSI, you do this one? Nope, this one, there you go. You gotta put your foot down though. Put your foot down. Just this, good. So what happened was DETKA came over and she wasn't trying to make CRESSI mad or do anything bad, but it spooked CRESSI enough that she ended up on my head, and then she flew after DETKA and chased her away. So DETKA or not DETKA, yeah, DETKA, is on the other side of the room knowing that she can't come over here because CRESSI will likely chase her. So that's kind of what I'm talking about, where she can be easily set off by other birds. Whereas if she would have been a conure and another bird would have come over, the conure probably would have cared less. But she's a little bit more easily heightened by other birds, which is something I don't prefer as much. I would rather her to be a little bit more easygoing, kind of like you are with humans, but you're just not like that with birds. Not so much. Not so much like that with birds. Okay, let's see if DETKA is allowed back. DETKA! DETKA! She's too nervous. She started to come and then CRESSI kind of postured, but DETKA! Come on, baby! No, you're being so possessive. So CRESSI's just coming over because she knows I'm calling DETKA and she doesn't want DETKA to be able to come over. You're very rude. So I'm gonna go ahead and put CRESSI away so that DETKA can be a part of this last part of this video. But at least you got to see some not so great traits of my African gray CRESSI, because as easygoing as she always seems, she's not that easygoing. You come here. And you're finally getting that noise level. No more CRESSI to chase you away. No more CRESSI. Okay? What a bully. So I think just me personally, I prefer a little bit larger birds to the small sun conures. I can still hold them and hold their feet and everything, but I just kind of prefer it to do it with medium and large birds. I find medium and large a little bit easier to read as far as body language, because they're a little bit slower in their body language, where it tends to go smaller the bird, the faster they move and the faster they show everything and they go through their movements, and so it can be a little bit more confusing. Sun conures though, they tend to be pretty obvious with their body language, as far as they'll really fluff up and be super obvious about some of the things they're feeling. But I think overall I prefer the less flighty, the more mellow temperament, and the less extreme vocals, because these vocals, they're not so fun. I think one more thing that I prefer about the African gray versus the sun conure is the way that they bite. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but the sun conures tend to really nip or pinch you, and it tends to take us by surprise because they're so little. They wedge their way into like little areas, especially under the neck, or under your hair by your neck and things like that. And it just drives me crazy to be bit by surprise because I can't see the little bird, than an African gray who is not going to be burrowing like that and is going to be a lot more obvious about its intention to bite you. So I think that's a big difference that I prefer as well. All right, I don't want this to feel like a total conure bash. So if it's about free flight, the conure definitely wins. And if it's about being more easily handleable, the conure definitely wins. If it's about noise though, not so much. And if it's about flight skills, the conure definitely wins. So let me know which species you prefer. The thing is that I do see people do a lot better job with conures in captivity overall than African grays. Are you coming? Thinking about it? DETKA. So there has to be something to say for that, is that I do think that people maybe find the smaller beaks and the smaller bodies a little bit more manageable. Now you're avoiding the hand. Come here. What do you think? Do you prefer sun conure or African gray? DETKA. Here, baby. Come on. You're about to see some company. Good girl. Hey.
Hi.
All right, everybody, so thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in a comment below if you prefer conures or African grays.